Fourth grade lesson 4.12 is multi-step division problems. So we're going to be looking at word problems that have division problems in it, but it also says multi-step. And multi means multiple. So like we did at the end of chapter 3, we had some questions where it took us 2 calculations to get an answer. And in some cases, it took us 3 different calculations in order to get an answer. And so we just have to learn to be really good about translating what's happening, drawing the picture out, and figuring out what you need to know in order to solve a problem and what are the pieces that need to come into place. So there might be multiple steps that have to happen. And it's just the patience of reading carefully, drawing the pictures, understanding what's happening. And so we'll practice some more. By the end of this year, you guys are going to be very, very good at that. Okay, so let's unlock the problem. So our essential question, first of all, is how can you use the strategy draw a diagram to solve multi-step division problems? We've been drawing pictures and drawing diagrams of our math problems, our word problems for a while now. And so we'll continue using that strategy. It's the best strategy I know for myself that works to help me figure out what's going on. So we have Lucia, who picked 3 times as much corn as Eli. Together, they picked 96 ears of corn. Eli wants to divide the number of ears he picked equally among 8 bags. How many ears of corn will Eli put in each of the 8 bags? And right now, this is looking quite a bit like a monster, right? It looks really difficult. But let's just take it one bite at a time. We know we need to know how many ears of corn will be in 8 bags. And here's our first piece of information. Lucia picked 3 times as many bags as Eli. Oh, this is kind of looking familiar, right? I'm going to draw a picture. Lucia picked more, so I'm going to make her taller. She picked 3 times the amount that Eli did. I'm going to make Eli shorter because he picked less. It's just what my brain needs to do. I don't know how many Eli did. But whatever Eli did, Lucia did 3 times that amount. Oh, this is looking familiar. So she did 1, 2, 3 of these. Pretend those are the same size. Sorry. They meant to be the same size. There we go. She did 3 times the amount of Eli's. Okay. So altogether, it says that they picked 96 ears of corn. This is the same type of question we did a while back. I think this was way back in chapter 2. Altogether, that ended up being, when you put it all together, 96 ears of corn. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4 unknown amounts. 4 times what number, we'll call it C for corn, equals 96 ears of corn. So 4 times what number equals 96. Now I'm not sure because 4 times 10 is 40 and my multiplication facts go as high as 10 and that's it. But remember, by now you recognize multiplication is the inverse of division. So if 4 times C is 96, then 96 divided by C is 4 and 96 divided by 4 is C. So I'm going to go ahead and use that skill because now I'm pretty much a division expert. So I'm going to take the 96 and divide it into 4 equal pieces, and that's going to tell me what C is. This, whatever goes here, is going to be what C is. So again, I block off my 6 here. I just look at my tens place. 4 times what number gets me as close to 9 as possible without going over? Oh, it's 4 times 2, because 4 times 2 is 8. With 1 remaining, bring down the 6. 4 times what gives me as close as possible as 16 without going over? Oh, 4 times 4 is 16, right on the money. 4 times 4 is 16. Okay, now I've just learned that one of these is 24. Each of these is 24, right? That's why we had done 4 times C, because now that we know that C is 24, 24 plus 24 plus 24 plus 24 equals 96. We used our calculation skills to figure that out. Okay, and now I filled in this section with the information we've been talking about. So now Eli wants to divide the number of ears he picked. Well, now we know that Eli picked 24 into 8 bags. So if he's taking the 24 that he picked and we want to divide it up equally or split it up equally into 8 bags, then we know we're doing division. So here's the picture form of that. 24 is what Eli did, split into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bags. I mean, we could hand that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Or we could do 24 divided into 8 bags, and we know that 8 times 3 equals 24. Notice every bag got 3. So what we did is we counted to find how many numbers of ears Eli picked. We did that multiplication 4 times C, and we found out he did 24. And then we divided 24 by 8 bags. So we divided to find the number in each bag. How many ears of corn will Eli put in each bag? He's going to put 3 in each bag. So 3 in each bag. And then how can I check my answer? I did the 8 times 3 to see if it equaled the 24 that he did. And 8 times 3 does in fact equal 24 ears of corn. So he split the 24 ears of corn into 8 equal pieces and got 3 in each bag. Okay, here's another one like it. And again, with practice, it gets better. If you're still feeling like, oh, I kind of get it, but it's hard, it is, and that's okay. But with practice, it gets easier, and you'll start being more confident as we go along. There are 8 dinner rolls in a package. How many packages will be needed to feed 64 people if each person has 2 dinner rolls? Okay, I need to find out how many packages do I need? How many packages? And what information do I need? Well, there's one package has 8 rolls in it. And I need to feed 64 people. And each of those people, everyone, wants 2 rolls. Okay, let's draw this out a little more. So there are 64 people that I need to feed. Okay? And each of them wants 2 rolls. Each of them wants to eat 2 rolls. And so I can start by finding out how many rolls I am actually going to need for all those people to eat 2 rolls. And so if I have 64 people, one person eats 2 rolls, and another person eats 2 rolls, and another person eats 2 rolls, and another person eats 2 rolls, and that repeats 64 times. What calculation am I doing? You're right, I'm doing 64 times 2. This will tell me how many rolls I will need to buy. So 2 times 4 is 8, and 2 times 6 is 12. That's 128. I need 128 rolls. Now, I don't have to go to the store and buy 128 different packages. That was the next piece of information. In one package, there's 8 rolls. So in one package, 8 rolls in a pack. Pack was not spelled right. There we go. P-A-C-K, pack. Okay, so I'm taking these 128 rolls and I'm subtracting 8 rolls for it from one package, and then subtracting another 8 rolls for it for another package, and then subtracting another 8 rolls for it for a third package. And I'm doing that over and over and over again until I run out. I completely cover how many there are. Well, repeated subtraction is division, right? I'm taking the 128 rolls and I'm repeatedly subtracting 8 at a time. Oh, okay. So I'll do 128 divided by 8 is the next thing I'll do. Well, let's do it here where we can have the room to do it. And that's going to tell me, this information here is going to tell me how many packages I need to buy so that there's enough rolls for everybody to have 2. I am now just looking at the hundreds place. 8 times what is going to get me as close to 1 as possible without going over? Nothing. 8 times 0, basically, right? And again, like I've mentioned before, I go ahead and put the 0. Let's just go ahead and put the 0 there. And then 8 times 0 is 0, so we're underneath the 1. That's what we need it to be. 1 minus 0 is 1. Now let's go to the two tens here. We invite him to play. 8 times what number is as close to 12 as possible without going over? Right, 8 times 1. 8 times 1 is 8. If I do 8 times 2, that's 16. That is too much. 12 minus 8 is 4. Bring down the next 8. And then 8 times what number gets me as close to 48 as possible without going over? Well, 8 times 6 is 48, right on the dot. And so no remainder. So 16 packages is what I would need to buy in order to have enough rolls for all 64 people to eat 2 of them. How many packages of rolls will be needed? 16 packages. How did drawing the bar model help you solve the problem? Actually, I didn't draw the bar model, but I drew something, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a bar model. It just needs to be something that makes sense to you. My brain wanted to see 64 people, so I put a person that's 64. So my brain knew there were 64 of those people over and over again. And then into their mouth was 2 rolls each. That was enough for my brain to figure that out. And then I knew I was repeatedly subtracting. 64 times 2 was 128. And then I knew I was repeatedly subtracting 8 because there's 8 in each package. And so my brain made those connections to that. Okay, let's try another one and let's see how we do. And if you're feeling like you want to give it a shot and see how far you get before you get stuck, go ahead. And if you get stuck, don't even worry about it. It's okay. You're getting the hang of it. A firehouse pantry has 52 cans of vegetables and 74 cans of soup. Okay. Each shelf holds 9 cans. What is the least number of shelves needed for all of the cans? I want to know how many shelves are needed so that all of the cans can fit on there. So I have vegetables. I'm going to do a can of vegetables. And it looks like I have 52 of those. Draw the picture. And then I have cans of soup. I'm just going to make them a little bigger so my brain knows there's 2 different things. There's 74 cans of soup. Each shelf can hold 9 cans. Okay, I'm going to draw a shelf with a can on it. I'm not going to draw all 9, but I'm just going to tell myself 9 on a shelf, like that. It's just so my brain knows what's going on. Okay. They're asking for a bar model to explain how my total number of cans. I can't think in my head of what a bar model looks like in that circumstance because that'd be a lot of pieces of the bar model. So I guess maybe they mean something like this, where I have 52 vegetable cans and 74 soup cans. Maybe that's what they mean. But when I'm looking at this, I know I need to figure out how many cans fit on the shelf, and it would be super helpful for me to know how many total cans I have. So if I have 52 vegetable cans and 74 soup cans, I want to put those all together to find out how many total cans I have. And so what calculation tells me how many total cans I have? Right, you're just going to add those together. So I'm going to do 52 from the vegetable cans plus 74 soup cans to find out how many total cans I have. 2 plus 4 is 6. 5 plus 7 is 12. I have 126 cans that I need to put on a shelf. On shelves, plural, right? And I know that 9 fits on one shelf, and then 9 fits on another shelf. So I would have one shelf, and I'd take 9 away from that to put them on the shelf. And then I'd have another shelf, and I would take 9 away from that to put it on the shelf. And then I would take away from that, and I would have 9 to put on the shelf. And I would keep taking 9 away over and over and over again. And repeated subtraction is division. So I'm going to take the 126 cans, and I'm going to divide it by 9 because 9 fits on every shelf. And since you are now very good at division, this is not a problem for you at all. I start with my hundreds place. 9 times what gives me as close to 1 as possible without being higher than 1? Nothing, right? 0, because 9 times 0 is 0. 9 times 1 is 9. That's already too high. So I'll do the multiplication and the subtraction for my remainder. Bring the tens column down. Invite him to play. 9 times what number gets me as close as possible to 12 without going over? Well, 9 times 1 is 9, so that's okay. 9 times 2 is 18, and I just blew my eyebrows off going too high in the math lab over there. So as I experimented with my numbers, so 9 times 1 is as high as I can get. Don't go blowing your eyebrows off. Okay, 12 minus 9 is 3. Bring the next player down. 9 times what number gets me as close as possible to 36 without going over? Ooh, 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 4 is exactly 36 with none left over. So I will need 14 shelves to put all of my cans on. So 14 shelves are needed. Question number 2, the Think Smarter question, says, what if 18 cans fit on a shelf? Oh, okay. What is the least number of shelves needed then? Well, I won't need as many shelves. If I can split that 126 into 18 parts rather than 9 parts, I could fit a lot less. In fact, it would be half, right? Because 9 times 2 equals 18. So if I split them into 9 on each shelf, I needed 14 shelves. Well, now I get to double up how many are on there. So I'm going to need half the amount of shelves. So 14 divided by 2, half the amount of shelves is 7. So there would be, or maybe not there would be, but there would be a need, I guess I can word it, for only 7 shelves. We need half the amount of shelves, right? 14 divided by 2, cut in half, because we have double the amount of cans that can fit on there. Okay, at first this one feels a little tricky, but there's a key piece of information we need to know, and if we don't know it, that's what feels tricky. So let's take a look. Julio's dad bought 10 dozen potatoes. The potatoes were equally divided into 6 bags. How many potatoes are in each bag? Okay, we want to know how many potatoes are in each bag. He bought 10 dozen potatoes, and if we don't know what a dozen is, that's going to make this problem really difficult. 10 dozen potatoes. A dozen is group of 12, and he bought 10 bags, or 10 dozen, of 12 in each bag. So it's 10, it's one bag with 12, another bag with 12, another bag with 12. So we have that repeated addition going on, and we know by now that that is multiplication. So we needed to know that a dozen meant 12. So 10 dozen is 10 times 12, and that's 120 potatoes. So now we know how many potatoes he had, and he wanted them divided into 6 bags equally, fairly, right? So we take the amount of potatoes we have, 120, and we divide it equally into 6 bags. Well, let's take our steps now. 6 times what number is as close to 1 as possible without going over? 6 times 0. Bring down the next player. 6 times what number gets me as close to 12 as possible without going over? Oh, 6 times 2 is 12 exactly. Okay, here's a common mistake. A lot of times I'll have kids say, oh, the answer's 2. You did not make it to the end of the number yet. We haven't dealt with the ones column yet, and we do have to deal with the ones column still. So we have to keep going, though the calculation is very easy. 6 times what number gives me 0? 0. 6 times any number, 6 times 0 is going to be 0. And now I'm done. $2 is a whole different thing than $20, right? So we can't stop and say, oh, it's 0, so I'm going to ignore it. That one matters. So it's 20 potatoes in each bag. Okay, let's try this last one on the share and show, and then hopefully you're feeling comfortable enough to go on to Think Central to do the rest. At the garden shop, each small tree costs $125 for one tree, and each large tree costs $225. How much will 3 small trees and 1 large tree cost? Okay, let me just draw some pictures here because pictures make a difference, and I'm going to use green because it's a tree, and I'm going to do a Christmas tree because we're close to Christmas time. A small tree is $125. A large tree is $225. And I want to buy 3 small trees and 1 large tree. Okay. All right. Think about what we need to find out. We want to know how much the whole thing will cost. Well, the first thing is, if I'm doing $125 3 times, 125 plus 125 plus 125, I'll just multiply 125 times 3 to find out how many of those 3 small trees will cost. So I'll do my multiplication. 3 times 5 is 15. We do the carryover. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. And 3 times 1 is 3. So this is the cost of the small trees. 3 small trees. I also am buying 1 large tree. That's $225. Putting them all together will be addition, so I'm going to add 225 for the large tree, all together with the 3 small trees, and now I'm doing 5 plus 5, which is 10. There's my carryover. 7 plus 2 is 9 plus 1 more is 10, carryover. 3 plus 2 is 5 plus 1 is 6. All 4 of those trees together, the 3 small trees and the 1 large tree, is going to be $600. So my answer is $600 for all of them put together. All right. Take the time to draw the pictures. Take the time to help your brain understand what's going on before you start calling for help. Don't be afraid to read the question 4 times if you have to. Don't be afraid to draw several pictures. It takes that. It does take that. So be patient with yourself. Help your brain understand it. Good luck.